Bryan, it has been 8 months. Can you believe it? 8 months since I last interviewed. That is crazy.
Man, it feels like 8 days.
Damn, yeah. Definitely. Okay, maybe not 8 days. About 2 months. I'd give it 2 or so months, but definitely not 8. Wow, it's
Yes, I say that because
crazy.
if you remember in our original interview, I was putting in 15, 16-hour days.
Right.
And I still do uh, 1 week out of the month, something that I picked up from our copywriting professor, Andrew, War Mode Week, where
Mm.
I do 16-hour days for a straight week. And now it's not just in my copywriting stuff, but between my 9 to 5 and copywriting, I'm doing 16 hours 1 week out of the month. But because I've put in so many hours like that, it's man, the time has flown by.
Yeah, fair, fair,
So
fair. That's interesting. Okay, let me just give the listener some context about our last interview. This is what I had written as a description on Twitter. Bryan earns over 5,000 per month through copywriting and freelancing. He joined the real world with zero copywriting knowledge. So just some brief overview. Okay, since then it was 5K. How's everything been for you monetarily in those 8 months?
it's been good. I've had some months do better than others. And the reason being is because I have two clients that I'm on retainer with, plus I do a revenue share with. So that money is, until they say otherwise, is guaranteed. And in between doing work for them, I'll do what I call one offs. Somebody they know might need a landing page designed, they might need some copy done, things like that. And those things obviously add more to my monthly income. So that's where the fluctuation happens. But now I average anywhere between 20 to 25K a month.
Congratulations. So quite a
Thanks.
significant difference there. How long have you been averaging that amount?
Probably the last 2 months.
Okay.
And we just started this one. So if this one at the end of this month, if it goes like the last two have, it'll be the third month.
Okay. So people usually say, I really want to make 10K a month, then my life will be so much better. Now that you're experiencing 20 to 25K, is lifestyle actually better or does lifestyle inflate with the income? What's the situation there?
I would say yes. I actually am planning a trip this weekend with my partner, and we're going to stay at a nice place, the whole shebang. So lifestyle wise, it has. It's kind of funny because at first I was like, ooh. So my Achilles heel and weakness is are watches and dress clothes. That's my thing. And outside of that, I'm pretty tame with my spending. So aside from that, I've had to have my hand slapped, so to speak, a couple times. But it's been the weight of having to worry, or not even necessarily worry, but just the weight of wanting to, like, if you're out and about with a friend or a family member or whatever the case may be, and everybody's experienced it. You see that one thing, you'd be like, oh, that'd be nice if I could have that. That feeling no longer exists for me.
Mhm.
Um, so, lifestyle wise, it's been great. I don't get to do things as freely as I could or would like to due to having my son being a single parent and everything. So that restricts me a lot. There's a lot of, and another weakness of mine is I love to travel. I'm the, and it's the irony in that is I'm the least traveled person you'll probably ever meet, but I love traveling. So that's kind of weird. So I've got my list that's continuously building up, and again, because a single father, single parent, and I have my son quite a bit. He's got his extracurriculars, his schooling, the schedule with, his mom. It really, it's really hard to do a lot of the things that I could do if I was some of these other, kids out here making this kind of money. Because if I did, you'd never see me. I probably would have sold my house and, done the travel with my laptop kind of thing, which is very appealing. I do kind of get a taste of it when I do have my free time, which is by myself and I'm working. I do like to take my laptop and just go to some random place that has an internet connection and work. I find that freeing, and changing up my environment really kind of gives me an extra boost of, I don't know if energy is the right word, um, but yeah, it's fun. To go back to your question, it's been night and day different.
Okay, very nice. Now, please explain, how did you land those two retainer clients and what do you do for them?
So the first client, I landed her, excuse me, was due to my outreach. And ironically, she knew somebody that I knew. So it kind of solidified the deal in that regard, in terms of, have you ever known somebody from your past? You don't talk to them for 10 or 15 years and you meet again, and you don't have to go through the awkwardness of getting to know each other because you kind of already know them. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
So you kind of skip a couple steps. It was kind of like that with us, in terms of having a good professional and personal relationship kind of combined, if that makes sense. When it comes to business and in a professional environment in general, I'm very personable, because I don't like somebody to be like, I don't want anybody to look at me as I'm the stuck up, you know, it's all about business all the time, 24/7. It is, but I feel like the magic happens when you can take that 24/7 mentality and finesse it with personability, likability, things like that. And with this client, I actually outreached to her, and after we had got to talking, and I did, what I wound up doing for her was a website, and I did the copy for her website. I did her email newsletter because she's a realtor. So they send out, newsletters on listings and things like that. And whenever they're having open houses or whatever the case may be, I basically do all that for her. And it wound up becoming a permanent client after she was trying to take her real estate agency and expand it into a neighboring state. And in order to kind of do that, she was partnering with another agency, kind of as a joint venture. And they had a bunch of media um, assets created. And they didn't want to put her logo on there because it looked like it was from 1990. Versus, nowadays your logos are more, clean, and they're just professional. They're more modern. So I was like, hey, I'll just do your logo, redo your logo for you, keep the same look and feel of it, but modernize it. Wound up doing that for her, sent it to her, and she just, I guess, had the bright idea to send it to this other agency she wanted to do this joint venture with. And they were like, wow, this is great. They literally told her, we weren't going to do it with you because your logo, it looks like shit. And so she gave them the new logo. They liked it, and they were like, okay, we can do it now. And it wound up just catapulting her to the next level in terms of what she wanted to do. And when that happened, she called me and she was like, hey, can I keep you as my guy doing XYZ? And I said, sure. It'll cost this much per month. She was like, that's fine. That's nothing. Whatever. Because a lot of her real estate dealings are like 400K plus houses. So she sells a lot of, I guess, high ticket, for lack of better words, listings. And at least for the area she lives in. And that's how that kind of went. And once our initial project was done, she went on to this social media group that she's a part of for realtors in the southeast of the United States, and was like, "Hey, I worked with Bryan. This is his, website, his business. He did this for me. This is what he did." And she put her website on there too, so everybody could see what I did for her. And I don't know about you, but my business website, anytime somebody lands on my website's page, I get a notification where they're from, like all that stuff. And I woke up the next morning, I had 300 freaking notifications from various people. Some did, some didn't, but half of them filled out my contact form to do business with. And it was from there, it's just been, sky's the limit kind of thing. And the second client, similar situation. Um, you know, they had a need for their business, and I over delivered. You hear that all the time when you're working for your clients. Over deliver. You know what I mean? Uh, Professor Andrew did a real good. I think it was Professor Andrew. He did a real good kind of explanation on this regarding social media ads. If you're or social media accounts, if you're trying to help a client grow their account from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers, work like you're growing it to 100,000 followers. And that's kind of the mindset I take when I do these. And nothing feels better when you tell a customer it's going to take this long to do whatever the project is, and you do it in half the time. And then on top of that, it performs, better than you or they expected. So it really kind of solidifies not just your confidence and your ability to do what you say you're going to do, but the social proof that it gives you, especially in terms of testimonials, referrals. Dude, 90% of the work I do is all referrals. I haven't had to outreach in like 2 months, 3 months. And the only reason I was outreaching after I landed these two permanent clients was because I wanted to see how far I could push myself in terms of, okay, how many people can I have on retainer and still handle that, plus my 9 to 5, plus my son with all his extracurriculars, because I coach his baseball team too, so that takes 4 hours out of my week.
How comes you signed
You
up for
know
that?
what's that?
How comes you signed up for that?
So it's a funny story. I'm the dad that likes to just watch his son play baseball, mind my own business, sit in my nice little chair in the stands. So the first practice of my son's baseball season, for whatever reason, the other two coaches, there's 3 coaches total. The other 2 coaches couldn't show up because I think their kid was sick or something like that. So it was just the main coach, and he's this, old guy handling 20 kids that are 7 years old. And he was like, "Hey, would you mind helping me with this practice?" Of course, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it." Every practice after that, he's like, "Coach, Bryan over here." I'm like, volunteered one practice, but I like how you spun this into me being a coach now. So now I coach every game, every practice with them. And it it's funny because on one hand it's super annoying as shit and it's rude, in my opinion, to, kind of do that to somebody. But at the same time, it's for the kids. My son likes it. He doesn't like when I get on to him and tell him to do things. But um, you know, at the end of the day, it's a nice bring you down to earth, back to reality kind of thing, especially when you could see your son, grow in a different way than you can from sitting on the sidelines watching. So, and that it's because it's the way you're teaching him and these other kids too. Um, so that's how I got roped into coaching. I was asked to volunteer one practice, and now I'm doing games and everything else. I even got the shirt, the hat, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
That's funny. And what you said about the website, I didn't even know you could implement that. That it shows their location and just information about them.
What it doesn't give me like address type location. Like for example, if you went to my website, it would tell me the country you're in.
Mhm.
And if like in the U.S., if somebody visits my website, it'll say, like Alabama, United States, or whatever. Um, I'm not a geographical person. So like if you went to the website, I could recognize the country you're from, but if it said some shit after that, I would have no clue where it is or probably what it says. So, but for the most part, yeah. And even still to this day, man, like I'll wake up, I've gotten to the point where I have to kind of just like swipe it off my phone and ignore it because I get like 15 a day now. So, I mean, at first I was like, is my website like compromised? Like, is somebody trying to hack my shit or something? Because it was like that bad, dude. And I've been in social media before in terms of like other communities and because I used to be a gamer a long time ago.
Mhm.
Don't flog me for it. But that was another life. And, I've seen, activity pick up and things like that, but this shit was like unusual. And I was like, something's going on. So, but yeah, it's good, man. It's good. I'm blessed. I don't know if you're religious or whatnot, but I am, and I'm super blessed. Couldn't be more thankful. And and I like to say I owe it to the real world, but it's more than that. I feel like it's everything from even this something as simple as this interview. People don't realize when you reach out to them, or I know Tristan just started doing his little interview circuit thing, and Justin Waller and everybody. When these guys get interviewed, man, that's a blessing, because it it just does so much than just oh, thanks to the real world. I feel like I don't know, I'm the kind of person like when I thank somebody, I like to thank everybody that's involved. I don't like to sugarcoat it and boil it and I don't not boil it, excuse me, water it down to like one thing. Because I mean, at the end of the day, all you guys are essentially from or a part of the real world in some kind of way. But yeah, if it wasn't for the real world, and I'll just say you and all these other guys out here, interviewing people and putting faces out there and their success stories, it's amazing, man. So, and I'm grateful, super grateful.
Awesome. I love that. Love to hear that. Um, what about? Okay, I want to go back to when you said referrals. You're so overloaded now because you're getting referrals. Don't have to outreach to anyone. So what's that like? Are you planning on scaling this and maybe outsourcing some of the work to others, or are you
it,
just
it
combining it?
it's funny you mentioned that because I was actually talking to Professor Andrew about this probably about a week or so ago, and him and I were just having a one-on-one, um, and because I'm part of his group. If you go on the real world and you look at my profile, you'll see a little title thing, little role, special role he created for some of us that have, or for us that have reached the 10K mark per month, and we discuss things like what you just asked, and we had. Please don't kick me out of the campus because I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this or not. But we had a meeting, with this group of students and him, and I think I was there like 15 minutes early or something. Like I was the first one in there, I think. And he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Good." Da, 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 da. And I got to the point where I was like, "Hey, man, I'm having to like just literally turn work away." And he's like, "Dude, what are you doing? You should be scaling," or something to that effect. And it's one of those things where I want to. It's just again coupled with my 9 to 5, which I'm under contract for, so I can't just be like poof bye, and I'm under contract for it for like the next 4 years.
Oh,
So um, cool, but not cool.
mhm.
Um, because if it wasn't for the real world, if I'd never joined the real world, that's obviously a very good thing, right? So I just happened to join after I started this contract. But that coupled with again the extracurriculars and stuff that I have to do with my son, and some people, it works for them, it doesn't work for me. I'm not that kind of person. um, you hear some guys, they work all the time, they're gone from their families a couple weeks at a time, or they see their kids 1 week out of the month or whatever. Dude, I can't do that. When my son is with his mom, which is only like a couple days a week, I'm like, I can't wait to see my son like in 2 days. You know what I mean? So for me, it's not. I don't need to. Um, if I was to scale it, I would have to break my contract at work, or I would have to essentially give up seeing my son. And I'm not willing to do either. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, could I make infinitely more money by breaking my contract? Yes. But because it's with the government, I don't know what the, or, I don't know what the repercussions would be, so to speak. Plus, some of the people I do work with, I've developed really good relationships with professionally. I furthered my career with it thanks to Arno in his business mastery class course. I've learned a lot with that, especially in terms of speaking and presenting myself to people of higher authority in my 9 to 5. It's worked out really well for me in that regard, in a respectful way, obviously, not in a manipulating kind of way. But yeah, I want to scale. That's obviously the end goal. I think what I'm going to focus on now is getting systems in place so that when I am ready to scale, I can go full throttle. I don't have to do it piece by piece. You know what I'm saying? For example, if I want somebody to do all my email copywriting and somebody else to do all of my social media copywriting, be it for ads or captions or whatever, I've already got the systems in place to be like, okay, you and you go. I don't have to do it one person at a time, get them trained, get them set up, this and that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I can just find somebody that I know is good, that has the proof behind their work, and I can put them in the position that they're doing, that they specialize in, email copywriting, for example, and I can do it all in one swoop versus one piece at a time. So I'm going to be developing systems in place so when that time comes, I can just blow it out the water. So
Good. Fair enough. I remember I had a question to follow up with, but it slipped my mind now. So if I remember later, I'll ask. Uh, but for now, let's see. 8 months is a very long time for someone who's constantly working on themselves and spending a lot of time in work mode. So I'm guessing you would have seen quite a lot of development within yourself. Is there anything you can speak about in that sense?
absolutely. And I don't know if funny is the right word. So shortly after our interview, when I was making like 5 to 7K a month, I hit that 10K mark. And after my first month of hitting that 10K mark, I you brace yourself. I almost was like, okay, I did it. I don't need to do it anymore. And just literally was going to just stop and go back to my normal, day to day life. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the whole, we're raised in a comfort environment kind of thing when people are comfortable. Because to be completely honest, before I joined the real world, I, by worldly standards, I live a comfortable life due to my job. Um, I don't really need for anything. My son doesn't need for anything. He wants a lot of shit, but he doesn't need for anything. So there was probably in my 8 month stint, there was a 1 month period where I struggled hard. So hard, in fact, I literally, and this is how I broke it, I literally, one of the days I didn't have my son, I woke up at 5 a.m., jumped in a cold bath, ice bath, sat there for about 5 minutes, got out, had one cup of coffee, and went and sat in the closet in the corner of this room over here in the dark, kind of akin to uh, in the movies you see the prisoner get thrown in the hot box and it's like dark and it's like 4x4 and it's like a sweat box, it's like an oven, they're cooking in there. I turned my I don't know if y'all call it the same stuff over there, but I turned my AC off here because it's in the middle of summer. It's like 110 degrees outside. I turned my AC off. I put on my winter clothes. I went in my closet and I sat in there until I probably sat in that closet for 10 hours for a solid week every day because I was trying to force myself out of this mental state that I'd somehow gotten into. Call it comfort, call it whatever you want to call it. And eventually, I guess you could say I broke in that regard and I was fine. I'm back to normal, back to the way I was when I started out, 16 hours, this and that, whatever. But I went through a period for like a month. And then the last week of that month, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is stupid. I'm sitting here, I'm doing this, learning copywriting. I'm making all this money now. And at the time, 10K was like, woohoo. You know what I mean? Like everybody says, their first 10K is like amazing. You feel like a millionaire, even though you're not. And it was amazing. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and shit on this opportunity when I've gotten to this point already. I'm not going to squander it. But for whatever reason, I couldn't push myself past you know, I couldn't push myself back into the zone that I was in when I started up until that point. It was kind of like somebody came and cast a spell on my ass, took all my drive away, took all my energy away, whole 9 yards. It's really weird. It's like some voodoo type shit. And like I said, 1 month came along, and I was just like, man, I'm not feeling it anymore. Don't want to do it. This sucks. Blah blah blah. Whatever. And I tried to, force myself. I did the work that I had to do for my clients, but outside of that, I didn't do anything. I tried to go to the gym. I wasn't going to the gym for that month. Like it was bad, and I don't know why. Still don't know why. But at the end of that month, I was like, I've got to, like, I can't, fall back into this shit mindset. So I decided to go. I was like, what can I do to break myself of this mindset? And I would go and I would watch, motivational videos, trying to read some motivational books or something. Nothing was working. I even talked to some people I knew that were like the big brother, tell you like it is kind of thing. Like, shut the hell up and get to work, quit being a bitch, like those kind of people. Didn't work. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And since I couldn't figure it out, I was like, okay, what have I seen in the past that have like broken people? And if you look at movies like Bloodsport and movies like, I don't know if Rambo was one of them, but if you look at some of these movies, you see these people physically and mentally getting broken down in order to rebuild themselves. And that was the closest thing I can think of other than putting myself in danger, right? So I literally would just lock myself in this closet, not lock myself, close myself in this closet, dressed for winter. It'd be 110 degrees outside, turn my AC off, sweat it out, talk to myself, that kind of thing, psych myself out. What are you doing? Kind of like affirmations in the dark. And eventually, after about a week of that, it kicked me out of my little fog or whatever I was in. Do I recommend doing that? No. But there's no danger, obviously. If I had to get up and use the bathroom or if I was hungry or whatever, I would typically obviously go do that. But when I wasn't doing something I needed to be doing work wise or client wise or with my son, I was in that closet because I needed to somehow, break whatever that was holding me back. And that's what I did. And that's what worked for me. So yeah, sorry I got off on a tangent there, but
What did you learn about yourself in that time? Because that must have been a lot of self introspection, and especially the silence over a longer time period. I think it allows your mind to filter a lot
I
of your thoughts through as well.
yeah, I learned I learned that being comfortable, because that's exactly really kind of what happened was I got this quick big chunk of money, so to speak, and I was like, oh, I can go, with this $10,000 that I normally wouldn't have, I can go do whatever the hell I want with it. Um, I think it was a matter of just I was already comfortable going in, and that just made the comfort even more. If that makes sense. And I was like, I've watched David Goggins videos, I've watched Andrew Tate videos, and I've seen some like really hard truth stuff that they've said, to people or to view, to whoever. And I would literally tell myself those things like, you're a bitch for being weak and not being able to continue and this and that. Like I was really hard on myself. Like I broke myself down essentially. But I think it all kind of goes back to letting the little wins, or in my case, a decent amount at the time, really put you in a comfortable place. And if you're not constantly outside of being comfortable, then I think you run the risk of falling into that trap. So that's why every morning now I do my ice bath at 5:30 in the morning. I get up, I drink my coffee, I do some push-ups, whatever, some quick little exercises. I plan out my day, and if I stop for a single moment and like screw off, I know that that's that little window that gets me. You know what I mean? So if I'm not constantly moving throughout the day, even if it's like going for a simple walk with my dog, if I'm not constantly moving and thinking about what I'm doing, what I'm going to be doing in the next 2 hours, what I'm going to be doing at the end of the day, if I'm not like a constant cog turning, dude, I will slip and be back in that damn closet. So realizing that for me, what I learned was comfort is the worst thing for me because it allows me so easily to be lazy. And again, a lot of these people in here, they're people that can't pay their rent. They're people that are really, struggling financially. I didn't have that. And I consider that an actual luxury because you're coming in and you've got to, I mean, this is it for you. You know what I'm saying? For me, I was just coming in to try and make a little extra money. Again, I was comfortable already before I even joined the real world by modern standards. So I didn't have that immediate pain or necessary struggle that I needed to like really rip it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's putting myself in stressful situations, good stress, but stressful situations, and keeping myself in there until at the end of the day when I'm done, because otherwise, it's like very easy for me to fall back into that. Okay, I've made 80K. I've made almost, my yearly 9 to 5 salary. I don't have to do shit for the rest of the year. If that happened, and well, there's what, 2, 3 months left in the year. If I didn't do anything for 2 or 3 months, what's that thing or statistic or whatever? It takes like a month or two to break a habit. Have you heard that?
Um, I probably
There's
have, but
something
I
to
don't
that
remember what time span was.
something to that effect, but it takes like a month or so to like either break a habit or learn a new habit. And I know that if I allowed myself to, slip for 3 months and not do anything, I know that I would break the habit of getting into how I am currently. Does that make sense? So I don't want to do that and then have to throw myself back into that closet again. So I was in a dark, but that closet for me was a dark place because I had to, in my mind, imagine really bad stuff taking place in my life that obviously aren't taking place, but to get me to the point to where I had to pull myself out of that hole that I had, for whatever reason, fallen into. Um, yeah, comfort is your worst damn enemy. So keep your brain moving, keep your list going. My daily list is an impossible list for me to accomplish daily, but because it's so damn long and full, in the back of my mind, I know I'm not going to be able to get everything done. It's just freaking possible. But because it's that long, it constantly keeps me in a forward motion, if that makes sense. And I don't have time to stop. So that's kind of my trick, if you will. Because, I've had some people ask, well, what if you complete your list? Screw that shit. If I complete my list, I'm like essentially like I don't stop until I go to sleep. If I'm eating, I'm usually eating at my desk unless my son's with me. We'll have dinner together. I do have time where I spend with my son, obviously, when he's with me. But outside of that, dude, if I'm not like working, I'm sleeping or showering because I know that if I stop, I'm going to get back to that point again. So I just intentionally make my list. Like if I've got 10 things to do that day, hypothetically, I will intentionally make it 30 things. I will add 20 more things to it that they might not even make no damn sense. Like build a shed. I ain't gonna build no damn shed, but it's on my list and I'm gonna be doing something to look at building a shed if I get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of giving myself unrealistic goals, like literally unrealistic goals, daily tasks, if you will, and just going through that list, man, until I'm done at the end of the day, until I'm ready to go to sleep and wake up and do it again. Because I know if I don't, I'll fall back into that trap. So,
That's very interesting. It seems we're wired for war because when we don't have war, it's just the comfort completely destroys us.
have that conversation with the 7-year-old. It's amazing because
With
he's
what?
like, "What?"
With a
Have that
7-year-old.
conversation. Yeah, with a 7-year-old. I'm like, all right, buddy, it's time to watch Sparta. Time to go watch Sparta. Time to go watch, Braveheart. And he's like, what? All he cares about is like freaking Scooby Doo or some shit, or Power Rangers or whatever. I'm like, Power Rangers, we can work with that because they're fighting, like war in the galaxy and stuff. So, but yeah, it's another funny thing for me is having conversations like what you just said with my 7-year-old because I'm trying to at 7 years old they're at the age where they're sponges,
Most
and then when
impressionable.
they hit, yeah, most impressionable, and I am really trying to on his level bring these different aspects of what it is to be a man, work ethic, things, all of those things, and really kind of project them onto him and teach him those things. And it's funny because, not to toot my kid's horn or anything, they just did their, I don't know how they do it in schools there, but in schools here, at the grade that he's in for his age, he's performing on a level that's 2 grades higher than what he's in now. So he's like in the 1%. And I'm like, bro, you just keep doing that. And he's like, of course, he's super proud of himself and everything. And I'm like, man, if you keep doing that, dude, when you get dad's age, freaking ancient, 40, you're going to be, you ain't going to have any issues with anything. So, but it's funny because we got our boxing gloves. We spar, me and him, we spar and stuff. And when he gets, it's funny because when he gets like genuinely mad at me, like I'll make him do his chores, right? He gets mad, he'll run and go put his boxing gloves on and start trying to like hit me in the back and stuff when I'm not looking. And I'm like, man, I will mess you up, dude. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. So
I love that. Okay. Again, I had something else to follow up with, but now I forgot. But it's fine.
dude, I'm probably rambling. People
No,
are
no,
gonna
no, no.
watch this like that dude rambles his ass off. So I
This is
just like
interesting. I
talking,
like
man.
this. Okay, so we talked about warm. Oh yeah, I'll say my experience on because it's very interesting that you chose to go into a closet to overcome it. For me, it was a more unhealthy way. As in, I used to be in cycles, up and down, and my down cycles were I just stopped playing games again and getting into bad habits to the point where I do it for about 2 months, to where I really have fucked myself over so much that I just need to change my life at that point because, I mean, in a way, that for me it ends up being kind of rock bottom. And then from there, it's like, well, I really don't want to continue this way. I need to change. And then I have to like restart everything again and then try to go up to the upward trajectory. And it actually used to be for me when I'd burn out. I know people say, burnout, whatever, but I think if you neglect everything else and you only work, then I think you can burn out. Whereas now I'm having more healthy measures towards it, so I doubt it will happen. But back then, I remember just 3 months straight of only work, and that's it. No gym, no socializing, only work, and that kind of broke me. And then yeah, that's when I went into just start playing games, other stuff, bad habits.
Well, yeah, so I can certainly relate to that because I used to be a gamer,
Hmm.
and specifically MMOs. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yeah.
term, but um, because I don't do those things anymore, and they are in some way a part of who I am, personality wise, just in general as a person. I feel like everything I've done, even if I don't do it anymore, has developed me to be the person that I am today to some degree. And you mentioned, working all the time, you can burn out. And I find that so funny that you say that because I do believe that. But at the same time, I find it funny because recently I've seen a flurry of, the whole burnout isn't real kind of thing, which I think it is, but I think it isn't.
Again, it depends.
Um,
If you're
it depends.
meeting your
Yep.
other needs, then you won't burn out. But if it's solely you're just focused on one thing for a prolonged period of time, then yes, you can burn out without.
Well, see, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people, you'll hear them say, this and that is, lame or gay or geeky or nerdy or whatever. But if you look closely, and I'll use Andrew Tate for
Mhm.
example, there was a short clip of like him and Professor Alex. Please don't butcher
Yeah,
me if
yeah,
I
yeah,
say this wrong.
Alex.
They were playing like Super Smash Brothers or whatever. But at the same time, you've also heard Andrew in the past say, gaming's for dorks. I mean, he's saying that for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't understand that, you know, working is obviously important, but when you can understand the meaning behind everything being work, it doesn't mean 24 hours a day you're literally working. It means going to sleep is work. It means spending time with your family is work. It means this eating is work. Everything is work in that regard. And I think people kind of they don't dissect the message and understand really what it's referring to. And the days I have my son, like I said, I'm not a gamer anymore, but he loves video games, right? He's a big Mario fan, whatever. Him and I will play Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, whatever. Granted, his duties academically, his fitness, his chores around the house, whatever, all those things comes first. But once those things are done, if he wants to watch a movie or go to the park or play his Nintendo 64 or whatever, or excuse me, Switch. Talking old now, that was back when I was your age, I was 64. But I do those things because it grounds me. Does that make sense? And it gives my brain and everything the subtle break that it needs where I'm not doing, my client work or my 9 to 5 work. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important, to do the things you enjoy doing. All these people that are running around, you know, touting this and that is for losers and whatever. I'm a pretty positive person. I try to be positive towards everybody. There are some people that piss me off, but I try to, if you're working 12 hours a day and Saturday you want to play a video game or go to a movie or whatever the case may be, golf, whatever, go do it if it makes you happy because it's going to allow your body, your mind to reset, get the break it needs, kind of like rest, it's funny. And I've even said it, and I think the first time I heard it, I was like, that's pretty slick. I heard Tristan Tate say, I go to bed at, I think he said like 6:59, and then I wake up at 6:58. So I got -1 minute of sleep, and I'm still, there's a reason he's saying that, and it's not in the literal sense. He might have meant it literal at the time, but there's more to it than just he got -1 minute of sleep. You know what I mean? And when we can extrapolate that and you know apply those things, dude, you're gonna be successful. You know, um, And it's funny because I feel like we're so focused on, what's the thing that we shouldn't be doing because it makes us, look like dorks or whatever the case may be. I feel like if people would just spend more time taking care of themselves in a healthy mental manner as well as a physical manner, exercise, things like that, and doing the things that they enjoy doing, that, regardless of what somebody says is cool or not cool, you're going to be more productive. And I mean, I, I hear it all the time, and even Professor Andrew says this. Um, you know, we were talking about something, and somebody mentioned vaping. And of course, in our world, vaping's gay, right? If you came to me, Rokas, and you were like, "Hey, man, I've got this business idea, blah blah blah. We do it. We're successful. We have a good relationship." And then we go out to dinner and you're vaping. You think I'm gonna give two shits if you're vaping? I might make a little crack at you or something or whatever, but I don't give two shits, man. You know. So I think people are putting emphasis on the wrong things. Like I see this shit all the time on Twitter. If you're a vape, you're a geek. Fun. That's funny, right? But after you've seen it and heard it 6,478 times, you know, guys, let's get back to the important things. Yes, it's funny, ha ha ha, whatever. But if I came to you with $1 million business idea, or four times what you make a month business idea, you ain't gonna give two shits if I vape or not. So let's be real, okay? So I feel like, and again, I'm rambling here. I feel like you know we we just need to take a step back, and when we have these moments where we're feeling burnt out, take a step back, go do something you like to do. Be it, even if it's just a walk or, play a video game, but hold yourself accountable. Don't, go play a video game for 6 hours, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. Don't go, binge watch a TV show and watch 35 episodes and realize it's dinner time when you sat down at breakfast. You know what I mean? Do it in moderation, like with everything else, and give yourself the break you need so that you can go back and be productive, you know? Um, and again, that's why I make the lists that I do to keep me on track. And when my son is here, I do take those moments to step back from my war mode, if you will, and enjoy life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, like this weekend, I told you I was going on a trip this weekend with my partner. I think before we started recording this, I'm not taking my laptop with me. I ain't doing a damn bit of work this weekend because I need it. I know I need it. I need that breath of fresh air. I need to step away. I will have my phone in case an emergency comes up. But aside from that, I ain't taking my damn laptop with me. Come at me in the comments, you know. So we can compare receipts. You know what I mean? So um, I just think it's important, man, to take a step back and really humble ourselves, and realize what we need to keep that mental freshness, to continue to productively work and work hard, and, work more than the average person, but realize when those breaks are needed, you take them, even if you have to plan those breaks, plan them, and then take them. Enjoy your life.
Mhm. And this is a common theme. The older guys I speak to, they all understand that the true meaning behind what the tapes are saying, whereas younger guys take it literally, and
Exactly.
sometimes
Yeah.
maybe to their detriment. But it's
Yeah.
still, but that's the thing. Can you really say to their detriment? Because it still improves their lives. Just it'll go up and down for a bit until they realize that there needs to be a balance there. But it's
Yeah.
still like a upward trajectory, even so.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think and the reason, I think one of the more obvious reasons why you kind of get that sentiment from the older crowd versus the younger crowd that takes it quite literally. It kind of, I think it boils down, man, to life experience
Mhm.
and, business experience. Like I'm 39 years old. I've been working forever. Whereas, it's when I started the real world, I was like, man, I'm so far behind. I wish I had this when I was 18, kind of thing. And then one of the professors, I think it was one of the professors, was like, don't look at it like that. Look at it like this. You've started working 20 years ago, right? 25 years ago, however long. I'm not mathing right now, but let's just say 25 years ago. you started working 25 years ago. So now you've got 25 years of what the real world business experience is like that you can apply to this skill. Whereas these guys coming in, they're still learning the skill just like you are, but they don't have the business acumen behind it. They don't have the real world, um, you know, experience that you've got being your age. You know what I mean? So, I mean, because if you take somebody like myself and you put me in a room with a 50-year-old businessman, and then you take a 14 or 16 or 17 or 18-year-old who's never worked a job a day in their life, is still just finishing high school, whatever the case may be, there's going to be a different level of professionalism. There's going to be a different level of certainty in that room comparing the two. So I think that's kind of where a lot of these young cats, and I've actually talked to a few people in the real world that are extremely a lot younger than I am, and I had to tell them, slow down. you know if you're in this situation, do this or this or whatever. And it's only because I've experienced it 100 million times in the professional world. And I have found for me that when I do certain things a certain way in certain situations, the outcome is 90% of the time in my favor versus going in guns blazing because you're a 14-year-old who's made a little bit of money and think you know everything. You have to kind of humble yourself a little bit. And I've gotten a lot of kids that I've seen that I think, I know you've talked to um, Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
the copywriting captain, 15 now. Excuse me, Andrew, happy birthday. 15. He's 15 now.
Actually, isn't he 16 now?
Oh, shit. Sorry, buddy. 16 now. Be a good little snippet to take out.
No, I'm keeping it in.
But I could see that turning into a funny short. Old guy in the railroad disrespects 14-year-old captain. But that kid, man, shout out, my man. He's gonna be, man. He's doing some shit, dude. He's got the mentality, in my opinion. He's got his level mentality is not your average 16-year-old, in my opinion. If he just keeps doing what he's doing, does it the right way, and you know, for lack of better words, doesn't piss the wrong people off, man, he is. I was like, dude, I was talking to him the other day. I was like, dude, when you're 18, you got like 4 or 5 more years, whatever, 3 more years before you're 18. By the time you're damn 18, dude, you're not even going to have to, if you wanted to, like, you're not even going to have to work the way you're going. He was like, yeah. I was like, what I'm saying is keep doing what you're doing, be humble, take advice from, people that want to give it, dissect it, learn from it. Even if you think the advice sucks, I guarantee you there's something you can pick out of it that is useful for you. And keep doing what you're doing, man. And it's kids like him that I see that I'm just, man, super proud of. Like, I tell them all the time, I hope my son, when he's their age, is half as, you know, driven as they are. So now he's just tired of me beating lessons into him and stuff. Matter of fact, this morning he was like, "Oh, Dad, do we got to talk about this again?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's not fair. Life ain't fair. Get over it." That's the kind of conversations I have with him, like straight up. And it's funny because like some people that when I tell them how I am with my son, the things I talk to him about and try and teach him, they're like, "Oh, you're so hard on him. Da 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 da. Life's hard." Yeah, he's 7 years old, but we have fun. You know what I mean? So we do all the fun kid stuff. But there's a time and a place for everything. So, um, but yeah, sorry, I just totally.
No, all good, all good. And there's another young guy you might know, Micah. I used to say it's Mika, but then I realized his actual name is Micah, and I was pronouncing it wrong the
Oh
whole
man,
time.
please don't. Yeah, Micah. Yeah, I did a small little project for him.
So
Micah.
I'm
Yeah,
calling Micah right after you. That's how I brought him up.
you are. Hey, bro. I wish I had your hair, man. I used to have it back in the day, but yeah, he's a cool kid, man. Another kid's got his head on straight. Seems to be doing great things. Love seeing his stuff on Twitter. and Alexander's as well, and a couple of the other guys. Yeah, he's dude, he's going places, man.
Yeah.
And one thing that really impresses me about Micah, and I'll tell you why, and I'm only saying this because he said it on Twitter, so it's public knowledge. So I'm not like giving out his shit, but he comes from, I'll just say, a comfortable family in that regard. Like his parents and I think his grandparents, one of the two, they did really well for themselves, kind of thing. He comes from a good background, and a lot of times when you see people come from those type of comfortable backgrounds, at least in a financial type sense or whatever. Whereas what I mean by that is you don't need anything. You know what I'm saying? You're not living in poverty or whatever the case may be. It's really hard to, in a lot of cases, for those people to, when they get on their own, they come of age, like Micah, for example, you don't see those kids doing what he's doing. Half of them, they want to keep spending. They want to spend their parents' money, or whatever. They want to be lazy as shit and have that lifestyle and maintain that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So for him to want to do it himself and do as good as he's done and be as driven as he is, man, I'm proud of that kid. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm not kissing up to him because he's a nice guy.
Cool.
So, but
So
and
more
another
about
thing is,
yourself, real quick, since we do need to wrap up. Where do you see your life heading in the short term, medium term, and long term since you're on this trajectory?
short term, that's a good question. There are some new developments happening in my life in terms of relationships, in terms of uh, taking my wins from copywriting and compounding those wins. What I mean by that is I'm learning new skills, specifically, crypto investing and stocks investing and stuff. It's a nightmare. I hate it. But short term, it's my goal is to take those wins and compound them to, elevate them even further. Medium term, I'd say in a couple years or so. I plan a couple to a few years. I plan on building my dream home and paying for it all in cash. That's my goal. Long term, I haven't thought that far ahead. I'll just slap the $1 million sticker on there. That's the long term goal. Because I'm just enjoying life, man, right now. Aside from not being able to travel as much as I would like, I'm going to, I'll just say, certain meetup events. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Um, Aside from not being able to do those as freely as I would like, because I'm a single parent and those come with responsibilities. Um, that's really my only like thing that I don't like, if that makes sense, is not being able to freely just go whenever I want to go. So it takes a lot of planning on my end, and coordination. So, um, but yeah, those are my plans.
So nice. Now, to actually end off, for people who are unsure about joining the reward because they might think it's a scam for $50, with your experience in the platform, what advice would you have to them?
Um, a lot of people look at the message and they think, "Oh, this is the easiest and quickest way to get rich," even though those words are used. Um, it's only as easy as the amount of effort you put into it. If you come in here and you join the copywriting campus and you are in the campus for 4 months or whatever, and you haven't sent more than 20 outreaches, for those that are in the campus know what I'm talking about. Um, like, can I say get lost? I mean, like, don't. Yeah, $50 a month, dude. It's nothing. You can find that in the alley, in the street, in the trash can.
Oh,
Go
time
look
to
for
start
it.
digging, huh? I can find $50 in
Yeah,
the trash can?
I mean, you could probably. go in the woods, grab a bundle of sticks, make some animal figures out of it, and sell them on Etsy, and get your $50 in a month. You know what I mean? So it's and what you don't have anything to lose. And in terms of it being a scam, what are they going to scam you? $50? Come on now. My kid got more of that in his piggy bank. You know, if you don't have the if you're too arrogant to think that $50 is too much to learn from people that actually make a living from doing these things, don't waste your time. Don't waste everybody else's time, because you're going to come in here and you're going to ask stupid shit like, oh, I don't have a client, but I've only sent 5 outreaches. No shit, you don't have a client because you don't know what the hell you're doing. I mean, it's things like that. So if you come in, spend the $50, you know, figure out which campus you want to go to, spend 3 months of working your ass off, hardcore, and put in the work, ask proper questions, and use the resources available, because you've got hundreds of thousands of people in each campus. Basically, they have chat rooms where you can get help and stuff like that. Like, really put in the work and really give it your best effort, and you'll make that $50 back infinitely over, probably in the first couple months. So, but you got to put in the work. Don't come in thinking somebody's going to say, click here, go there, hit start, and you're making money. It doesn't work that way. You have to learn a skill. You have to put in the work to understand it, master it, and get good at it. And you'll see your return easy. Easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well put. Solid answer. And now, for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, where can they do so?
You can reach me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If I'm going to assume, if you search Zenith Tarek, and I don't know if you want me to spell that out.
I'll
But
add it to the description of the video, so all good.
yeah, if you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I'm on all of those. And yeah, give me a follow. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody might have, if they have any.
Cool. So yeah, everything will be in the link. All the links will be below in the description. Anyone interested, check that. Then Bryan, what a follow-up 1-hour conversation. After 8 months, you're doing very well. And I hope listeners who got this far have gotten some very good insights from you. I know I have some interesting perspectives, interesting story as well. And I look forward to doing another follow-up, hopefully in half the time, not in 8 months, ideally in about 4.
It's okay. I know you didn't forget about me. You're just super busy. You're Mr. Rokas. You're the interviewer, man. You're the G. They're going to make a documentary out of you, bro. The guy that just interviews everybody. It's
One day.
interesting, man. You get to hear all the cool shit,
Yeah.
and you get to
And
look
now I'm
good
in war
doing it.
mode. I'm doing at least 3 interviews a day for the rest of this month, minimum.
And I just took up 2 hours of your time. So
Only 1 hour. That's fine. There will be.
timer says,
You can PayPal me 500. It's 500 per hour. That's fine. No worries. It was great speaking to you, Bryan. And yeah, till next time, wish you all the best.
all right, man. Have a good one.